Holly Dunn Pendleton is the only known survivor of the railway serial killer, and it kind of happened in a scene like this in Kentucky, right?
That's right, in Lexington, Kentucky, in 1997. I was a junior in college at the time, and my boyfriend and I were at a party. We went to take a walk by the tracks just to go talk, and a man approached us soon after we got up to go back to the party, he was asking for money, asking for things. We didn't quite know why he was approaching us, but it was pitch dark. It wasn't a good situation, and I can't say we really felt scared until we saw that he had a weapon, and then we were frightened and kind of doing anything that he asked us to do, asking, trying to get him money, trying to give him our credit cards, ATM cards, giving him what he wanted.
Can you explain the scene a little bit? So you were just by the tracks, kind of sitting there, and did you see him coming? Did you?
No, actually, we were sitting right beside the tracks. It was grassy on the tracks where we were, right beside the tracks, so we were sitting there. And he actually approached us from behind an electrical box, and was hiding behind that electrical box. And we knew that he had been watching us because he even said some things that he knew that our friends had been there with us before. There were 4 of us, but our friends went to go back to the party before we did, so he knew that our friends had been there. So he had been watching us, and I'm not really sure how long he had been watching us, but he had been watching us there for some time.
What kind of weapon, and how did the attack start after you went through?
I'm not sure what it was. It was either an ice pick or a knife that he really kept on Chris the whole time. He went through Chris's backpack. He had Chris get down on his knees. We were on the side of the tracks at the time. He had Chris get down on his knees and, went through his backpack and, trying to find money, that I guess is what he was doing, but he didn't find anything. And that's when we started saying, you do want our car, ATM cards, credit cards. And he just kept saying, no, I don't want any of that. We could not figure out what exactly he wanted. When he was finished going through Chris's backpack, he actually tied up Chris's arms with his backpack, which I didn't quite realize that he was doing at the time. I couldn't really see what was happening, but he tied up Chris's arms, and then he came over to, I wasn't far from Chris, he came over to me and took off my belt and tied my hands behind my back with my belt. That's when we knew we were really in trouble, but again, we didn't know what this guy had. He had a bag with him. We didn't know if he had a gun, what he had with him to hurt us with. So, we're just trying to comply with whatever he wanted. And he actually pulled Chris. We were kind of up on the side of the tracks. He pulled Chris along the gravel and along the grass into the grass beside the tracks, and it looked painful, so I just kind of followed along. I went down to the side of the tracks with them, and that's when, he had us get down on our faces, lying down on the side of the tracks, and he ripped a shirt to tie up our legs and to gag us. When he gagged me, I actually stuck my tongue out so that the gag wouldn't work. I could still talk, and I'd never been gagged before. I don't know where I thought to do that, but that gave me the ability to talk the entire time. Chris and I were talking to each other, kind of saying, what are we going to do? What should we do? And Chris just kept saying to me, everything's going to be okay. It's all okay. But he kept walking back up to the tracks. He would walk back up to the tracks and said that he was waiting for a friend. And he was carrying that bag with him the whole time, and just kept coming back down to us and then going back up to the track. So there were only seconds that we had to try to strategize or figure out what we wanted to do. But, eventually, I don't know how much time passed, but I just remember our attacker carrying this large rock, and it was really hard for him to carry. And then he came over to Chris and hit Chris on the top of his head with it. And it really seemed like a dream. It seemed surreal. It didn't seem like it was actually happening. But, when he hit Chris, it was going through my mind then of survival. And this automatically became the scene of, oh my God, this man wants to kill us. And it wasn't until that moment that I even thought, that just doesn't cross your mind. It doesn't cross your mind that someone wants to hurt you like that. So Chris was about, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet from me when he did this. He came over to me after he hit Chris, and I heard Chris gurgling, and I asked him to go turn Chris's head to the side so that he wouldn't choke on his own blood. And he actually went and did it and came back over to me, and he said, he's gone, don't worry about him. And that's when he got on top of me, and it wasn't until that moment that I realized that he wanted to rape me. I started fighting him, I started kicking and screaming, and he actually stabbed me with that sharp object that he had in my neck, and he said, look how easily I could kill you. And so I just stopped, and he raped me. I don't remember, I remember the rape, but I remember floating above my body. I wasn't feeling anything. I didn't feel being stabbed in my neck. I didn't feel the pain. I wasn't feeling anything. I, actually talked to him and was trying to, have him realize that I was a person that he was doing this to. After he raped me, I actually asked him to put my pants back on, because I thought, if I'm going to be found here dead, I don't want to be naked. So he actually put my pants back on for me. And he was doing things like that I thought, okay, I've befriended this guy, and I was begging him, please don't hurt me. I won't tell anybody what happened. I won't tell anybody that you did this. It'll be our secret. And I really thought that I had befriended him. I even had asked him his name. He asked me my name. I thought that I was getting somewhere talking to this guy. But eventually he took a ring of mine. This is the last thing I remember. He took my ring, he took an earring, and then he hit me. And I don't remember being hit. I don't remember him even coming to me to hit me with something, but he hit me with a board probably 5 or 6 times in my face and 5 or 6 times in the back of my head. I think what he did is he hit me 5 or 6 times in my face, and he broke my jaw and broke my eye socket. And I think what I did is I put up my hand to block it, because I think he hit my hand too. And then I turned over and he started hitting me in the back of the head. And he probably hit me 5 or 6 times in the back of the head. And I think he hit me enough that I was probably breathing really shallowly. I think I even played dead. Because I thought, if I can play dead and he doesn't know that I'm still alive, that I could get out of this. And he did eventually leave me there, and I don't know how much time passed before I got up to get help. Walked about 200 yards to a house nearby, and I got up and got help. And I don't remember walking to this house, but I remember just appearing in the front yard of this house. And I actually did not ring a doorbell. I didn't knock on a door. I just walked straight into this person's house. It was 2:30 in the morning. I walked into this guy's house. I said, call 911 for me. I was covered in blood. And he called 911 and helped me until the law enforcement arrived. So
you know firsthand.
Yeah, I do. I know what victims go through, and in my work now that I do, I know, because I had a really good experience with the law enforcement, with the judicial system, with the way that my case went. It took time, but my attacker was caught, my attacker was tried, my attacker was executed. It all worked the way it should, and that doesn't happen for a lot of victims. A lot of victims never see their cases brought to a trial. They never get that chance. They don't even want that chance, because they just want to forget about what happened. They want to, just forget that anything ever happened to them and try to move on with their lives. And it can be really hard, especially when, you don't have a cooperative law enforcement, or if you don't have cooperative people, if you don't have that support system, it can be a really hard and trying time.
How did that affect the community?
Well, in the Lexington community, I was anonymous. Nobody knew who it was that this had happened to, and that was for safety reasons, because they thought he would come back and try to get me. So they kept everything very anonymous. They never released my name, and so I was very much, nobody knew who I was. But in my community at home, everybody knew who I was, and that was just because it's a smaller community, and my family, everybody knew my family, so everybody knew me. And that's when I felt, when I walked into church or when I walked to the mall, if I saw somebody I knew that they were walking on eggshells, they're like, oh my God, there she is, like, is she okay? And, you know, I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like people acting differently around me. So I found, you know, I have a gift of finding humor when no humor should be found. And you know, that's how I can get through things and talk to people about horrible things that happen to me and horrible things that happen, because I can find humor where you really shouldn't be able to find humor, and I can smile and I'm not afraid to cry. I'm not afraid to get upset. I'm not afraid to show my emotions. I'm an emotional person. So, you know, I think that's helped me too in my healing, is that, you know, the person I was before has really helped me in my healing, because I was always that loud, you know, just gregarious person that, you know, was the life of the party. And so I think that helped me in my healing too, that I still wanted to be that person. I think I'm changed because of what happened, but I think that I'm probably better, that I'm, you know, I probably would have always been a strong, independent woman, but I am stronger and more independent and hopefully more aware and probably hopefully helping others. And I hope that that's what I'm doing in my life and in what I do.
Trains used to bother you?
Yeah, they used to be a trigger for me. I didn't like the sound of them. Two trains went by during the attack, and I just remember thinking, why can't they see me? Why can't they see what's happening? Why don't they do something about it? And, you know, there's only one person usually on a train. It didn't really make sense, but, you know, you just think about trains and that conductor may have been able to see me. But, you know, they used to really cause me to, I don't know, break out in a cold sweat. I couldn't talk. I couldn't move. If I heard the sound of a train, if I saw a train or went over railroad tracks, I, you know, had a really hard time functioning. And they were just triggers for me, that it just brought me back to that night and brought me back to that situation. And but I've worked through that. I've got nieces and nephews that love trains, and, you know, I don't want to not like trains. So I've definitely tried to work through that. And you know, it's sometimes I still get chills, or sometimes I, you know, still think about it, but it's that I can deal with, because you know, I think now all the good that's come from what happened.
And what are some of the things that you try and teach other people? I know you do a lot of training, and you go out and you give presentations and talks about awareness. And what is your message, and what are the things that you've learned that people should do if they're ever in that situation?
Well, you know, I've really learned that every situation is different, and how someone reacts in any situation is the right way to react. I think that it's important for us to empower ourselves, to do things to make ourselves feel more protected and empowered, to trust our instincts. I think that's something that we don't, especially us as women, we don't necessarily trust our instincts. We have amazing instincts as women, and we don't necessarily always pay attention to them and trust them. And, you know, that's really my message, is that bad things can happen and life can go on after it does, and that you can get through anything with, you know, help and with a good support system. You can get through anything, and whether that support system is your family, whether that support system is just a friend, whether that's a counselor or a therapist or someone that can help support you, that can make the difference.
Well, you've made a huge difference, Holly. Thank you.
Thank you.